Hope, my darlings, is a fragile congregation. It kneels before any altar that promises warmth. And when the world grows cold enough, even false prophets find followers. At Hawksmere, the snow fell like ash from a dying heaven. The keep groaned beneath its own ghosts, and faith itself began to freeze. Into that silence stepped Brother Cuthbert, a man wrapped in piety and frost, bearing not bread, but words. Words dressed as salvation, stitched from the fabric of deceit. He spoke of charity, of holy succor, of deliverance sent by Furness Abbey and Sir Roland de Mowbray. Yet beneath his smile beat the pulse of conquest. Lady Alianor stood before him, the last flicker of will in a house choking on doubt. Around her, the villagers trembled between hunger and belief. To starve is a slow death, yes, but to lose faith in one's own hands is swifter still. Brother Cuthbert knew this, so did she. Thus began a new kind of siege, one fought not with steel but with scripture, not over battlements, but over hearts. And as the storm raged, something older stirred beneath the snow. The whispers of Lady Eleanor's sorrow, the buried truth of Roland's sins. In such storms, light does not guide, it exposes. And those who live by its glow must learn quickly that even illumination casts a shadow. Come closer now. The fire is low and the hour late. Listen well as faith becomes a weapon and mercy a mask. This is the gospel of hunger, where salvation is bartered and hope has teeth.
False Dawn, Hawksmere's battle for faith and power, the Scandalous Hours. Brother Cuthbert's words hung in the frigid air, a perverse benediction laced with threat. The desperate hope on the villagers' faces, Alara's clasped hands, Cole's transfixed stare, was a knife twisting in Alianor's gut. Succor's coming, the promise echoed, promising salvation while subtly branding her stewardship as the cause of their suffering. Cuthbert stood framed in the torchlight, snow melting on his shoulders, radiating the smug certainty of a man who delivered a masterstroke. Alianor forced her voice through the ice in her throat. Brother Cuthbert, your concern for Hawksmere is noted. The words tasted like ash. We welcome any genuine aid in this time of hardship. Furness Abbey's charity is legendary. She emphasized genuine, her gaze locking with his, refusing to flinch from the triumph in his eyes. Tom, see Brother Cuthbert warmed and fed. He must be weary from his journey in such weather. It was a command, not an invitation, stripping him of his self-appointed stage. Tom stepped forward, his expression granite. This way, brother. His tone brooked no argument. Cuthbert's benevolent smile tightened, but he inclined his head with false humility and followed, the crowd parting silently, their murmurs a confused mix of relief and lingering doubt. Alianor turned to the villagers, the biting wind whipping strands of hair across her face. The night deepens, and the cold bites harder. To your hearths, such as they are, conserve warmth, conserve strength. We endure. Together her voice, though strained, carried the steel of command that had held them this far. It was a counterpoint to Cuthbert's honeyed poison, a reminder of shared struggle, not division. The crowd dispersed slowly, shivering, casting uncertain glances back at the keep. The seeds were sown, but the harvest was yet to come. She climbed the battlements again, ignoring the numbing cold, scanning the obliterated landscape. Amen. The name was a silent scream against the howling wind. Nothing, only the relentless white fury. Despair, cold and heavy, threatened to engulf her. Had the storm claimed them? Had Roland's shadow stretched even to the fells? She leaned against the icy merlin, the stone leaching the last warmth from her hands. Then, a sound beneath the wind's moan, a faint rhythmic thud. Hooves? Her breath caught. Straining her eyes, she peered into the swirling chaos. Shapes, dark and slow-moving, resolving out of the white. 4 riders, 2 ponies, sledges laden with Something. They were back. Tom! Gareth! To the gate! Alianor's shout was raw with relief. She flew down the steps, her heart hammering against her ribs. The gate creaked open, just as the bedraggled party stumbled through. Tom and Mick rode, slumped, exhaustion etched deep. Young Will guided the lead pony, his face pinched with cold. Jory brought up the rear, leading Eamon's horse. Eamon himself was a hunched figure, lashed to the saddle, head bowed against the storm, unmoving. Panic flared anew in Alianor. Eamon! She rushed forward as Tom and Gareth helped Jory untie the straps. Eamon groaned, lifting his head. His face was gray beneath the grime and ice, eyes bloodshot and unfocused, but alive. Relief warred with alarm at his condition. Made it, he rasped, his voice barely audible. Hollows, buried deep. But got some. He gestured weakly towards the sledges. The sight was a balm to Alianor's frayed nerves. The sledges were piled high with rough-cut logs, branches, and bundles of tightly bound kindling. Strapped atop the wood were sacks, one bulging, others smaller. Firewood, Tom announced, his voice cracking with fatigue but ringing with triumph. Enough for a week, maybe more if we're careful. And he hauled a sack from the nearest sledge, hefting it. Oats, a whole sack, dry and clean, hidden in a feed bin under straw in the stable. Forgotten-like. He pulled open another sack. Salt. A good chunk of it. And he reached into a bundle wrapped in oiled leather. Venison. Smoked. 2 haunches. Found it cached under the floorboards in the cottage. A ragged cheer went up from the villagers, who had lingered or emerged at the commotion. It was a pittance against the scale of their need, but it was tangible. Food. Fuel. Hope rested from the frozen jaws of the wilderness. Get him inside. Now! Alianor ordered, her focus snapping back to Eamon as Gareth and Jory half carried, half dragged him towards the keep. Bess! The solar, heat water, blankets. She turned to Tom. Unload. Store the oats and salt in the granary, under lock. The venison to the smokehouse. Distribute the wood, a fair share to each hearth, starting with the infirmary and the hall. Now. The sudden influx of resources demanded immediate, decisive action. The great hall, warmed slightly by the new logs crackling in the hearth, became a hive of purposeful activity. Villagers lined up for their ration of precious wood, the mood shifting palpably from despair to cautious optimism. The sight of the oats and the promise of venison broth whispered through the crowd like a warm breeze. In the solar, Eamon lay on a pallet Bess had dragged near the fire. His tunic and cloak were sodden. Alianor and Bess worked quickly, stripping off the frozen layers, revealing the angry bruising across his ribs and back, livid against his pale skin. He hissed as they peeled the damp bandages away. Ribs, grounds hard, pony stumbled. He gasped out, teeth chattering as Bess applied a poultice of warmed herbs. You fool, Alianor murmured, her hands gentle as she helped Bess bind fresh linen around his torso, strapped to a saddle in a blizzard. Had to know, Eamon managed, his eyes finally focusing on her face, seeing the strain, the lingering fear. Hollow, safe, woods, thick, more, much more, when the snow eases. He gripped her wrist weakly. Cuthbert? Alianor's expression hardened. He's here. Playing the savior sent by Furness and Roland's cousin, she quickly filled him in on Cuthbert's grand entrance and Marjorie's insidious whispers to Alara. Eamon cursed softly, wincing at the movement. Divide and conquer, using their bellies, against you. He took a shaky breath. The oats, the meat, it helps, shows we provide, not them. It helps, Alianor agreed, tucking a blanket around him. But Cuthbert brought promises from powerful men, promises that feed fear and doubt. We need more than venison, Eamon. We need proof, leverage. She remembered the bundle he'd clutched when they brought him in. What else did you find? Eamon gestured weakly towards his discarded sodden cloak. In the lining, pouch. Dry. Alianor retrieved the small leather pouch, stiff with cold. Inside, Protected by oiled parchment were several folded sheets of vellum, brittle with age but intact. The script was faded but elegant, unmistakably a woman's hand. Alianor's breath hitched as she recognized the signature at the bottom of the first page, Eleanor de Clairvaux. Her mother-in-law's words, hidden for years in the ruins of Thorn's Hollow. She scanned the top page quickly. It wasn't a map to treasure. It was a lament, a heart-wrenching account of a trapped woman's sorrow, Edmund's decline, the suffocating ambition of Roland de Mowbray, his unwelcome attentions she dared not fully describe, her fears for her young son, Godfrey. Phrases leaped out. Roland's eyes are ever upon me. His courtesy feels like a noose. Edmund sees only shadows. I fear for Godfrey, so trusting. I have hidden my small dower jewels, not for vanity, but as a shield against a day when Hawksmere's walls may not protect us. Directions followed, cryptic, but clear enough to someone who knew the keep. Beneath the third stone, Falcon, on the south battlement walk, where the rain weeps. The second page was a list. Dates, payments, names Alianor didn't recognize, amounts of silver. At the bottom, a single damning note. For Roland's silence? Payment for what? Edmund suspects nothing. God preserve us. It wasn't a phantom treasure. It was evidence. Evidence of Roland's predatory behavior towards Lady Eleanor, and potentially evidence of bribes or blackmail. By God, Eamon breathed, watching her face. What is it? Leverage, Alianor whispered, her eyes blazing in the firelight. Proof of Roland's true nature long before Godfrey or I. She folded the precious documents carefully, and perhaps a way to turn his allies against him. A knock sounded. Bess opened the door to reveal Father Clement, his face anxious. Lady Alianor, Brother Cuthbert requests an audience. He is insistent. Says he brings word from Furness Abbey regarding the aid. Alianor exchanged a look with Eamon. The battle was coming to her door. Let him wait in the great hall, Father. I will be down shortly. She tucked the document securely into her own kirtle. Watch him, she murmured to Clement, and find Tom. I need him listening. Descending to the great hall, Alianor found Cuthbert standing near the high table, warming his hands ostentatiously at the newly robust fire, their fire, fueled by their wood. He turned, his expression one of pious concern. Lady Alianor, I trust Sir Eamon is recovering. A perilous journey, undertaken for modest gain. He gestured dismissively towards the stack of logs near the hearth. Abbot Bertrand was deeply moved by my account of the suffering here. Furness. Abbey pledges a cartload of grain and salted fish within the week, weather permitting, a true testament to Christian charity. Generous, Alianor replied neutrally, taking her seat at the high table. Tom materialized near the screen's passage, pretending to mend a harness. Clement stood nearby. And the conditions of this charity, Brother Cuthbert? Mother Church is seldom without guidance. Cuthbert's smile was thin. Guidance, yes. The abbot, in his wisdom, believes stability is paramount during this difficult time. He suggests, most humbly, that the spiritual care of Hawksmere requires experienced hands. He proposes I resume my duties as chaplain immediately, to minister to the flock, and ensure the proper distribution of the abbey's bounty. He paused, letting the implication hang. Control the food. Control the people. Furthermore, he continued smoothly, Sir Jocelyn de Mowbray, as Sir Roland's closest kin and a magnate of the county, feels a familial responsibility. He intends to send a small contingent of men to assist with maintaining order and security while the sheriff's investigation proceeds. Purely a protective measure, given the tensions. Protective measure. It was the velvet glove over the mailed fist. Roland's men, under his cousin's banner, inside her walls. Alianor felt the trap snapping shut. Accept the food and the priest, and invite the wolf into the fold. Refuse, and be branded ungrateful, condemning her people to starve. Stability, Alianor echoed, her voice dangerously calm. a worthy goal. Tell me, Brother Cuthbert, in your pursuit of stability, did you inquire at Furness about Sister Marjorie, a nun of their order, I believe, currently held here for questioning regarding her role in Sir Roland's crimes? Cuthbert's composure flickered. Sister Marjorie? I mentioned her troubled spirit, her confusion during the recent upheavals. The abbot prays for her guidance. Her confusion involves spreading lies, inciting fear, and acting as Roland's spy, Alianor stated flatly. Crimes witnessed by many, including her attempt to undermine this community yesterday, whispering poison about God's punishment to grieving women. She saw Alara flinch from the corner of her eye. Stability requires justice, brother, not convenient silence. Will Furness Abbey accept her back without question, or do they prefer their scandals buried? Cuthbert's face tightened. The Abbey will, of course, cooperate with the sheriff's inquiry. Excellent, Alianor said, leaning forward slightly, because stability also requires truth, and the truth about Sir Roland runs deeper than recent events. She let the silence stretch, feeling the weight of the documents against her skin. Tell me, brother, did the abbot or Sir Jocelyn ever hear rumors about Sir Roland's conduct towards Lady Eleanor de Clairvaux? His overfamiliarity? His unwelcome attentions years ago? Cuthbert paled. Lady Alianor? Such baseless slander against a knight? Baseless? Alianor's voice cut like ice. Is it baseless when the testimony comes from Lady Eleanor's own hand? Hidden away for years, out of fear. She didn't produce the documents, letting the threat hang in the air. Documents detailing her fear, her observations of his ambition, and curious payments made to him. She watched the blood drain completely from Cuthbert's face. I wonder how Sir Jocelyn, a pillar of faith and justice, would view such revelations about his cousin. How would the abbot view harboring a man who preyed upon a vulnerable lady under his spiritual care? Would such truths promote the stability they profess to desire? Or would they, rather, reassess their involvement? The hall was utterly silent. The crackle of the fire seemed deafening. Cuthbert stared at her, his pious mask shattered, revealing naked fear and calculation. She had called his bluff and raised him evidence of a far older, uglier sin. I would need to convey such grave matters, he stammered. Convey them, Alianor commanded, rising. Tell the abbot and Sir Jocelyn that Hawksmere appreciates genuine charity. We welcome grain and fish. We do not welcome foreign men-at-arms or interference in our spiritual life while Father Clement tends our flock ably. Sister Marjorie remains in custody for the sheriff. And remind them, she added, her gaze locking onto his, that the Lady Eleanor's words are safe, for now. Their continued silence depends on theirs. Hawksmere endures, Brother Cuthbert. We do not require rescue, only justice, and the space to rebuild what was broken. See yourself to your quarters. We will speak again after the Furness cart arrives. If it arrives. She turned her back on him, a dismissal more potent than words. Cuthbert stood frozen for a moment, humiliation and fury warring on his face, before he turned and stalked out, his earlier triumph utterly extinguished. A collective sigh seemed to ripple through the hall. Tom met Alianor's eyes, a fierce pride in his gaze. Ilara looked down, shamefaced. The immediate threat was parried, not vanquished, but they had held the line. Alianor climbed the stairs to the solar, the adrenaline ebbing, leaving profound weariness. Eamon was asleep, his breathing easier. She moved to the window. The snow still fell, but the wind had lessened. The false dawn of Cuthbert's promises had been exposed. The real dawn, cold and uncertain, was still hours away. She touched the hidden documents, Lady Eleanor's fragile shield. They had bought time. They had revealed a deeper darkness in Roland's past, but they were also a weapon that could backfire. Furness and Sir Jocelyn would not take her defiance lightly. Below, in the infirmary, a weak cry went up. Davy! Oh, sweet Jesu, no. Alara's voice, raw with fresh grief. Alianor closed her eyes. One battle won in the hall, another lost in the shadows. The cost of the siege was measured not just in hunger and cold, but in small, broken hearts. She turned from the window, the weight of the crown, the weight of Eleanor's secrets, of Roland's legacy, of every life clinging to Hawksmere's stones, settling heavier than ever. The war was far from over. It had merely found new, more treacherous ground. She moved towards the stairs, towards Alara's grief, towards the next skirmish in the endless winter siege.
When dawn finally came, it was not mercy that rose over Hawksmere, only the pale reflection of victory's cost. Brother Cuthbert's honeyed words had been silenced for now, his triumph turned to ash by a single truth, a woman's trembling hand preserved on parchment, damning the noble house he served. Lady Alianor had drawn blood without lifting a blade. Yet what is triumph in a world so starved? Below her chamber, the great hall exhaled a weary relief, and for one fleeting breath the people believed themselves saved. But in the hush that followed, a mother's cry broke the illusion. Davy's small body lay cold, his spirit the latest toll exacted by the winter siege. Even as Alianor outwitted her enemies, grief claimed her kingdom room by room. The true battle was never against men like Cuthbert, nor even against the storm. It was against despair itself. False dawns, you see, are crueler than night. They promise renewal only to remind us how deep the darkness runs. Yet amid the ruin, Alianor still stood, not saint, not martyr, but something rarer, unbroken. So remember this, my midnight listeners, in every war of faith, warmth is never free. It must be purchased, with lies, with courage, sometimes with the last beating of a child's heart. The veil of charity has lifted, and beneath it waits the truth, cold, glacial, and terribly alive. Until next we meet, keep your prayers soft and your fire guarded. The snow remembers every promise, and it does not forgive.